So here's a flock camera pointed directly at the schoolyard, monitoring where each kid walks, how they get home, if there's an adult with them, which car is picking them up. And this camera is owned by a friend of Jeffrey Epstein who showed...
It's concerning that that flock camera is pointed right at the kids' park, but this is even more concerning to me. You see this right here? This is from D-Flock. So right here is a park, and all these blue dots are flock cameras in the area that they're facing. And guess what this is? This is a kid's splash pad, if you can believe it or not. Here's confirmation. The image is here, and it verifies that there is flock cameras here, and it is a splash pad. So just take a look at this. Here it is, and that's the splash pad. And here are a bunch of little kids that are playing in that splash pad in Florida. But keep in mind, all these cameras are watching these kids in their bathing suits right here at the splash pad.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of 5 Minutes with Mike. I'm your host, Michael Beckford. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about something that's been a matter of a very hot topic and is also going to intertwine with some other issues with data centers. But starting off, we're going to talk about what the flock is going on. We got new AI surveillance cameras that is tracking all of us. We'll get to it in a second. It's 5 Minutes with Mike. Our news, our voice, our issues. Believe that.
This is a hell of a story. A man gets arrested for buying marijuana in a state where it's legal to buy marijuana and then traveling back home across state lines. The cop that did this used flock cameras to arrest the man buying some damn marijuana in a state where it's legal. Here's the story.
Wisconsin police used flock to track a man across state lines into Michigan, where weed is legal, and back into Wisconsin, where weed is not. And they used the fact that he went to Michigan as the pretext to search his car for a weed arrest. So this is pulled from court records that I obtained. It basically follows this man from Green Bay down here. The first flock hit happened right here. And that was at 2 p.m. on April 26th, 2025. They then tracked him up Route 41, which is this road right here. They tracked him going north, and they got flock hits all along the way. So there's one Brown Road and US 41. Then they tracked him up to Marinette. And so this right here is the state line between Wisconsin and Michigan. This is the state line right here. And they tracked his car going into Michigan. And then a few hours later, caught him coming back into Wisconsin. They used this as the pretext to pull him over and search his car. He was ultimately pulled over right around here.
What are we doing? Put it up full mass.
Guys, as you can see from this particular video that you just watched with TYT, Indisputable Dr. Rashad Ritchie, he's a credible news source. As we saw, this particular individual was getting, marijuana in one state, and he was being tracked the whole time while he was in another state that, marijuana was not legalized. Here's the problem. Number one, the problem is now you have interstate, you got cops that are literally going in that are logging into this flock system, right? And are tracking people whereabouts across their lines, interstate, okay? That's an issue because that's not their jurisdiction. If you have a jurisdiction, let's say in Miami Beach, like just in real world, right? And then I go over to, I go to, let's say Broward County, Florida, and end up in Fort Lauderdale police. Miami Beach, although yes, they can, communicate with each other on other channels, say, hey, we got a suspect that's going 100 miles an hour, blah, 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 please intercept. Where Miami Beach stops where Miami Beach line stops of their jurisdiction is where it's supposed to stop. I'm just talking about in real world. Miami Beach police technically is not supposed to then arrest me all the way somewhere in Fort Lauderdale.
This episode of 5 Minutes with Mike is brought to you by the upcoming children's book Mila Don't Do That by Michael D. Beckford and Mila D. Beckford. You turned on the stove without my permission. Mila, don't do that. You knocked over the toys and now you made a mess. Mila, don't do that.
Mila, Don't Do That is now available for pre-order. Link in the description below. Okay? Because once again, that's not their jurisdiction. Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and to give some individual context, between Miami Beach and Fort Lauderdale, give or take, with or without traffic, is anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes. Okay? Give or take. All right? So you're talking about going that amount of a distance, which if you look at the video, that's kind of something similar time frame, like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour or so, that this black male goes and, purchases marijuana legally in a state that's legalized, and then, he consumes it, brings it back, whatever. And you got the cops from one place to another that's watching him through these flock cameras. And essentially, and what this shows me is that they're flocking the law in regards to the way the judicial system and the way barriers are supposed to work. Like Dr. Richie said in the video, at the end of the day, when it comes down to these matters of interstate travel, which we're all as American citizens, right, are deemed with the inalienable right to be able to travel interstate freely from one state to another without being harassed, watched, and all these other things. So either way, let's say that he was doing something of an illegal manner and traveling from one state to the next. That's something of now what the feds will have to be involved in, per se, if it was something illegal. Once again, there's nothing illegal about you traveling to leave from the state of Texas and go to the state of Colorado because you're trying to get high. There's nothing illegal about that, because if in the state of Colorado that is just fine, then it's just fine. And my note about this, now, we all know also Texas recently passed this new THC ban. So my warning to all YNs, all those that may not have heard about this THC bans, with deals with Delta 8, this, that, and third, just don't F with it. And honestly, because I am one to have partaken in marijuana on many occasions, I would say. I'm not a hard individual in regards to, using it. But it's a plant that's naturally given to us by God, all right? Including hemp-based products, right? All I'm saying is, and this does also tie into the main headline when it comes down to these flock cameras. All I'm saying is, at the end of the day, guys, just be careful if you're in the state of Texas. Be careful if you're in any one of these southern freaking backdoor states when it comes down to the legalization or non-illegalization of marijuana. Because all they want to do is give pretextual context for cops to stop you, arrest you, and throw you in those private prisons. Because at the end of the day, we've seen all across the nation that crime rates have declined, declined over the past decades, And so now the private prisons are like, wait a minute, listen, we need our profit center. And where they're going to normally attack, what they normally going to go after, and what individuals usually have the least amount of resources when it comes down to lawyers, when it comes down to to be able to defend themselves, as we see situations with Carmelo Anthony and all these other situations. The resource they have least to defend themselves is an attorney. You know what I'm saying? They're relying on a public pretender for the most part. And, my bad for those that may do a good job. But unfortunately, overwhelmingly, these individuals are overwhelmed, aka public defenders are overwhelmed in cases, and all they're doing is just tell you go do a plea. So for something that little Timmy gets, get away scot-free, and the cop may not even stop him for, you as a minority and or black male specifically, because we're the ones that more targeted by anybody between black male, black women, you specifically are getting, in Texas, between how much you got a gram or whatever, you're looking at 2 to 5 years, 180 days, 2 to 5 years in jail or prison. I mean, this stuff is sick. It's sickening to see these in 2026. We have these draconian laws, and I remember back about a year ago, I was in Arizona, and there was a woman, a nice, very pretty woman, and she was at a smoke shop, and literally they had every strand of cannabis that you can imagine. And here she is dressed up. They had like two guards there. But this just she was dressed up. It was nice. She didn't have to worry about, man, am I going to get criminalized for selling this thing? Unlike many Black Americans that got into the dope game and things like that have been criminalized for it, in jail right now still, and I'm sure even in Arizona for crimes in the past that they're still locked up for something that a woman like her can just do freely and just go, oh, I'm just doing my little 9 to 5, you know what I'm saying? That type of vibe. And it's just so sick because it shows you that we do truly live in an apartheid America, two-party system when it comes down to policing in America. And that's where these flock cameras, of course, also come in at. Because there's been a story that there's police have put up some flock cameras in front of a smoke shop, and the smoke shop owner um allegedly put up something to basically cover up the vision of the flock cameras. They're like, man, with those flock cameras, they don't want them, targeting their customer base, and that's essentially what's been going on. Not only are the flock cameras increasingly in more quote unquote high crime areas, basically surveilling everybody, but also they're putting them in places like nearby clubs. They put them at, obviously I mentioned smoke shops, all in the name of quote unquote public safety. But unfortunately, the public had no particular vote in many cases when it comes down to these flock cameras. And now I recently also saw a situation where Blackwater, whatever the name of the company is, I believe it's Blackwater, something of that nature. They're $1 trillion company. I mean, they control all BlackRock. I'm sorry, they control all kind of government contracts when it comes down to defense projects. They're pretty anyway indefensible company in my mind. But this company, they now have the quote unquote flock cameras that are now being built. I mean, they don't call it flock cameras, but these are cameras that they're advertising to city municipalities that are being basically disguised as city streetlights. You know what I'm saying? I remember back in the day, somebody used to tell me, man, watch out with them those televisions, man. You never know. They might have cameras inside of them. And just to think, that could be some truth. They could have some kind of camera inside of them. I'm not saying they do, but listen, cameras, the technology to put a camera inside of things, like we've all seen the spy cams and things of that nature when it comes down to the Airbnbs and all that nature. But privacy right now in America is non-existent. Like you can't like we've all have known, of course, that there is no expectation of privacy in public, right? You go out to by the time the average American get out of their home and they go down the street to the local grocery store 5 minutes away, there's probably 50 cameras that caught their movement. Literally. Just think about all the doorbell cameras that's in your neighborhood. So you gone on the street, you probably got 20 cameras that picked you up just leaving out of your neighborhood. And then the corner store that picked you up, and then the street light and the street cameras that picked you. Like I said, over 50 plus cameras. Listen, I was at Walmart the other day, and Walmart got a ton of cameras and AKA flock cameras, license readers, on this particular Walmart lot. Now it's not a strange phenomenon to see cameras at Walmart, but this particular Walmart had an army of cameras. Like literally on each individual pole, I counted about at least 4 to 5 cameras on that pole with a solar panel to power these cameras, and also I saw, of course, a Wi-Fi, wireless transmission for these poles so they can have and communicate. So, and that was about, so just imagine I'm counting 5 poles 4 to 5 cameras on about 5 to 6 different poles at the Walmart as I was exiting. That's about 30 cameras right there in a parking lot, dude. A parking lot, not even including the cameras that's inside of their particular store. So, yeah, we are aggressively being surveilled as citizens of these United States. Once again, I understand completely that there is no expectations of privacy in public, but at the end of the day, when you have cameras like these flock cameras that is tracking, it's using AI, artificial intelligence, to now track your every move, like from, you know what I'm saying, from the time of, you guys saw the video at the intro of this video showing, this flock camera, this group of flocks that's at a park tracking parents, tracking kids, watching, and the question is like, like George Orwell's 1986 or the book George Orwell talks about like who's watching the watchers. You know what I'm saying? Who's watching the watchers? And turns out, well, the watchers, there was an officer recently that was end up basically losing his license as a police officer, which is a very hard thing to do for most time. But he was abusing the flock camera system. Like literally, bro was looking for personal, using it for personal things, trying to figure out what his wife was doing. So these cameras, this network of cameras is, if anybody ever watched Terminator, this network of cameras and plus data centers, we're living in a world of where where fiction has now become our reality in 2026. The Terminator is here. Believe me. Believe me when I tell you that. No, it's not a man right now yet walking around and half man, half robot. But as far as the data centers are concerned and the amount of ability it takes to keep a log of all of your data, and it's not just the camera itself that's doing it, it's also they're using certain technologies when it comes down to picking up the heat signatures of you and your devices and the Wi-Fi signature that specifically so each phone has an IP address, right? And that IP address is uniquely to you, okay? Alongside of that phone, you got your smartwatch that's connected to you. You got your tablet they all have their own IP address. But guess what? In order for you to get your phone, in most cases, unless it's some kind of burner phone that you find, in many cases, you have to register that phone with your personal information. And most individuals that aren't involved in any kind of crime or whatever still are targeted by these flock cameras. Every time you get in front of them, that's data that's being stored at one of these wild data centers that's now consuming and drinking up water, and causing all kind of chaos. But that's for another story for another day in regards to what's starting to happen in a lot of our communities. But at the end of the day, a lot of people are not happy about what the flock is going on with these cameras. And, unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it except to go to our local municipalities and vote them out and vote out these particular contracts, including the ones that BlackRock is trying to introduce that are embedded into the streetlights. Anyway, guys, that's the episode. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for listening and watching. This presentation of 5 Minutes with Mike is brought to you by the groundbreaking book HOMEBOYS by Michael D. Beckford. See what other individuals have to say about this book. Then grab your copy today, wherever books are sold.